Ladies and gentlemen, gather close and allow me to whisk you away to a world where silk drapes billow in the breeze of clandestine whispers, where intrigue is as thick as the scent of oud and jasmine, and where the destinies of empires were shaped not upon the battlefield, but within the hushed corridors of the imperial palace. Yes, we speak of the Ottoman Harem, that most enigmatic of realms, an intricate web of ambition, cunning and resilience, immeasurable power. It was a place where the impossible became reality, where a girl born in slavery, sold in the marketplace, could, through wit, charm and unrelenting strategy, rise to sit upon the throne as the mother of emperors. Such an ascent was a phenomenon scarcely seen in human history, and yet, within these walls, it was a possibility that made the harem one of the most fascinating political arenas of its time. Picture, if you will, the Topkapi Palace. Imagine it stepping forward, as if an actor arriving fashionably late to a grand performance, its domes gleaming in the golden sunlight, its gates standing wide as though inviting us into a world of secrets. Oh, and look at that. It's already here, impatient as ever. Within these walls, hierarchy reigned supreme. At its summit sat the Valide Sultan, the Sultan's mother, a woman whose very breath could dictate policy. Below her, the Haseki Sultan, the Sultan's favorite, she who held his heart, and more importantly, his ear. And beneath them, a veritable sea of concubines, some meek, others ambitious, all navigating the treacherous waters of palace life in the hope of securing their place in history. New arrivals, often plucked from distant lands, would begin their journey at the lowest rung of the social ladder. Yet, for those with charm, intelligence, and an unbreakable will, the possibilities were endless. Here, a girl could arrive as a slave and, with strategic alliances, cunning maneuvering, and a well-placed whisper in the right ear, ascend to become the most powerful woman in the empire. One cannot speak of the harem without addressing the sheer drama that unfolded within its confines. It was an empire within an empire, a place where jealousy was lethal, where rival factions plotted beneath the flickering glow of oil lamps, and where a careless step could send even the most favored woman tumbling into oblivion. Kösem Sultan had been the first to carve this unlikely path from slavery to sovereignty, shattering centuries-old traditions and paving the way for those who followed, including Kosem Sultan. Yet for all her cunning and sacrifice, fate played its cruel hand. She died before Suleiman, never witnessing the reign of the son for whom she had gambled everything, never seeing whether all her machinations had truly borne the fruit she so desperately sought. Consider, for instance, the case of Prince Mustafa, son of Mahidevran Sultan, whose very existence threatened the ambitions of Kösem Sultan. In a plot worthy of Shakespeare himself, accusations of treason were whispered into the Sultan's ear, a man torn between love and duty, between blood and empire. He lived with unending regret until the end of his life, haunted by the echoes of his son's final moments, the weight of his decision pressing upon his soul like an eternal shadow. However, while some scholars evaluate these women's acts as mere power struggles, many others argue that they did their best to serve the crown and the country, as well as their converted religion, with deep devotion. These women were not only political figures, but also great benefactors who left behind an immense charitable legacy throughout the empire. They built mosques, schools, hospitals, and soup kitchens, ensuring the welfare of the subjects they ruled over. Their influence extended beyond palace intrigues, as they sought to stabilize the empire and promote justice through their patronage and piety. Then there was Kösem Sultan, a woman who did not merely survive the tides of power, she became the tide itself. She first navigated the reign of her husband, Sultan Ahmed I, stepping into the imperial palace still thick with the ghosts of one of the most harrowing purges in Ottoman history. The corridors whispered of fresh horror, for not long before her arrival, Ahmed's father, Sultan Mehmed III, had unleashed a bloodbath unlike any other. 19 of his own brothers were executed, and tens of tiny coffins were seen leaving the palace, a haunting procession that sent shivers through the imperial walls. The harem servants struggled to find burial space for the innocent children and their mothers, drowned by decree, their cries lost beneath the waters of the Bosphorus. And yet, for all this bloodshed, Mehmed III did not live long to relish his throne. His son, Ahmed I, so repulsed by his father's actions, refused to attend his funeral prayer, an act of silent rebellion against the very system that had placed him upon the throne. Kösem Sultan, renowned for her political acumen, skillfully navigated the volatile dynamics of the Ottoman court. Before her own sons ascended the throne, she understood the necessity of forging strong alliances. She maintained a delicate balance in her relationships with her brother-in-law, Sultan Mustafa I, and later her son-in-law, Sultan Osman II. By carefully positioning herself as an indispensable advisor and showing unwavering loyalty, she ensured her survival and influence during their reigns. Kosem's ability to adapt and ingratiate herself within shifting power structures laid the foundation for her later dominance as Valide Sultan. Her true test came with the reign of Sultan Murad IV, her eldest son, known for his authoritarian rule and military prowess. Initially, as regent, Kosem exercised considerable power, ruling on his behalf during his minority. However, as Murad IV matured, he sought to reclaim absolute control, implementing strict policies and executing high-ranking officials to consolidate his authority. Though their relationship became strained, Kosem remained a crucial political figure, skillfully maneuvering through the dangerous tides of court politics. Her enduring influence showcased her exceptional ability to navigate the ever-changing dynamics of the imperial palace. Murad IV's reign, though marked by military success and internal reforms, ended abruptly with his untimely death in 1640. Having suffered from chronic illness, the once feared ruler succumbed, leaving the empire without a strong successor. His death paved the way for the ascension of his younger brother, Ibrahim I, later known as Mad Ibrahim. Unlike his predecessor, Ibrahim lacked the discipline and strategic mind of Murad IV. His reign quickly descended into chaos, characterized by extravagant excess, erratic behavior, and the unchecked influence of palace favorites. Kösem Sultan, recognizing the threat of instability, once again stepped into the political arena, attempting to control her increasingly unpredictable son while safeguarding the empire from internal collapse. Yet even within her own family, Kösem Sultan faced rivalry. Her greatest challenge came not from outside the palace, but from her own son, Ibrahim I. Erratic, indulgent, and increasingly detached from reality, he resented his mother's control over state affairs. Their rivalry was one of whispered court plots, veiled threats, and, ultimately, outright defiance. Ibrahim, indulging in extravagant whims, surrounded himself with sycophants and concubines while draining the treasury with his unchecked spending. He sought to free himself from Kosem's influence, replacing her allies with his own, yet he lacked the political acumen to outmaneuver her. The struggle between mother and son reached its breaking point when his erratic behavior became too much, even for the Janissaries. They turned against him, and with Kosem's careful orchestration, his downfall was brutal, his name forever attached to excess and instability. His death paved the way for Kosem's grandson, Mehmed IV, to take the throne, and once again, she positioned herself as the empire's guiding force. But the very game she had played so masterfully turned against her. The young and ambitious Turhan Sultan, mother of Mehmed IV, saw Kosem's influence as an obstacle and orchestrated her downfall. One moonless night, silent figures slipped into her chambers, their purpose clear. The woman who had ruled over emperors, commanded armies, and dictated policy was strangled with her own veil. Her lifeless body left as a warning to those who believed they could hold power forever. It was perhaps the only fitting end for her, a death as ruthless and silent as the world she had mastered. But as with all things, even the greatest of dynasties must fade. The golden age of the Ottoman Harem began to wane as political structures changed and external forces threatened the empire's very foundation. The days of grand intrigue and whispered betrayals gave way to reforms, to modernization, and eventually to the dissolution of an empire that had once ruled vast swathes of the world. Yet the stories remain. The Ottoman Harem was not just a place. It was an empire unto itself.